All right, guys, what we're going to start off with is the 28 through 30. These here, find the value of the discriminant, describe the type of solutions, and find the value of these solutions. On the test, it's not going to ask you to actually solve them. You just need to describe the type and number of solutions. So on any of these here, because what we're talking about is our b squared minus 4ac. Now, if this is greater than 0, we have two real solutions. Now, b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. We have one real solution. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, we have two complex solutions. So it's going to be one of these three that we will have. Now, when we look at this here, we need to get it equal to 0. That's one of the things we'll have to do. We have to have these equal to 0 to find any of this. So what we'll do here, for this first one for 28, I'm just going to subtract 4x squared from both sides so that it is equal to 0. So we get this here, because I moved the 4x squared over, so it has it equal to 0. And now we can use the discriminant, our b squared minus 4ac. Because once we get it to equal to 0, then we can do b squared minus 4ac. Now the value of b here is 5, so we'd have 5 squared minus 4. A is negative 4, and c is negative 10. b squared minus 4ac. Because we get it equal to 0, then we can plug it in. After we plug it in, really at this point here, you can plug this whole thing into the calculator. Because 5 squared would be 25 minus 160. I think it should be negative 135. Yes, we agree? So it's negative 135. So the value of b squared minus 4ac is negative 135. So what kind of solutions will I have? Well, I'll have two of them, and they're going to be what? Complex. Because b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So it's two complex. And that's all we need to do. I believe the answer for the review sheet, I also asked you to find the values, like what solutions they are, but on the test, I'm not going to have you do that. This is all we need to find for this here. Questions on 28? Do you want to look at 29 or 30? Which one? 30. Let's look at 30. So we have this here. Again, we need this equal to 0. We need this equal to 0. So to get it equal to 0, I'm just going to move the 24x over. I'm going to subtract 24x from both sides. So we'll get 0 equals negative 3x squared minus 24x minus 48. Now I rewrote it so that I have x squared, then x, and then our constant term. So we have it in the form that we're used to seeing ax squared plus bx plus c. It kind of matches up to this form here. So any questions on this here? Now we can use our discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. So the value of b is negative 24 squared minus 4 times x, which is negative 3 times negative 48. And again, at this point here, we can type this all into the calculator. And if we type all this in, we get 0. So since it's equal to 0, we have how many solutions? 1, and it's going to be one real solution. Any questions on this here? Any questions on anything we've done so far? Because our answer would be 0 and one real solution. Are we good with 28 through 30? Yes. So for these here, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. We just plug in for the values of a, b, and c for b squared minus 4ac. Find out what the value is. And then determine, is it greater than 0, equal to 0, less than 0? So having this is going to be helpful. Okay. 31 through 33, find the value of c so that we can make a perfect square trinomial. Well, c is equal to what? B over 2 squared. B over 2 squared. So either any one of these in particular you want to look at. We can look at 32. So c would equal to what over 2 squared? 29. Our value b is 29. Can I divide 29 by 2 evenly? No. So if you want, you can leave it as this here. You can leave it as 29 over 2 and just square it. Now 29 squared is not one I know off the top of my head. $841. So we get 841 over 4. So plug it back in. X squared plus 29x plus 841 over 4. That's half the answer. The other half is factoring it. Instead of parentheses squared, and we have x. So what goes with it? Whatever we had in instead of parentheses before we squared it, which is positive. 29 over that's it. That's it. That's all I have to do for this here. Any questions on any of this here so far? Y'all want to look at any of the other problems, or 31 or 33 on this page? Do we want to look at either one of those there? Yes. So we're looking at that next. If there aren't any other questions on these two. Okay. I. For the first one. So how did we determine I? Well, we took I to the nth power. We take n and divide it by 4. If we get 0.25, it is I. If it's 0.50, it's -1. If it's 0.75, we get negative I. And 0.00 is 1. So we can look at the next one, 287. All I need to do is I need to take 287 and divide it by 4. So this would be something point what? 7 or 50? No, you just put the answer in there. Because I'm just looking at this here. I think it's 75, so it would be negative I. So whatever the decimal is going to determine what it's going to be. So if we do 41 divided by 4, we're going to get 10.25. So 0.25 tells me that it is I. But really, these are just arrows. It's not negative signs. And we can do the same thing with D and E. We divide the exponent by 4, and whatever the decimal, we match it up to the answer. So any questions on A through E? Any questions on A through E? Okay. Evaluate each expression. Any questions on A through E for this here? Any one of these here that you want to look at? E? Was that E or D? E. Okay. Put it in my right pocket. Okay. So you can do this by hand and simplify I and go that way. Or what I can do is say parentheses, 189 second I minus 361 second I squared. That's our first set, isn't it? Plus, close parentheses, 71 I squared minus 38. Is this it? Because I feel like there were some powers greater than 2. The last one's 4. That's what I thought. So the answer for this is 252 plus 189I. And that's all we have to do for this here. Any questions on this here? I'm going to minimize that for now. Now, if we looked at this here and I wanted to do this one by hand, well, what do I know about I squared? I squared is -1. And I to the 4th is just 1. So I could have simplified those because I had any power greater than 1 we have to simplify. Well, here we're just going to have 189I. Well, negative and negative is going to make a positive. Well, that's going to be negative 71. Combine like terms. 109. 110. We get the exact same thing the calculator told us. Yes. So we could plug these into the calculator just as they are, parentheses and all, and it'll give you the answer. So any questions on these here? We good with these here? Questions on F, G, H, or I? F, G, H, or I? I'm going to steal this for a second. So we're looking at H. So it's parentheses, 2 plus 3, I. 7 minus 4, I. 6 minus 2, I. And that's it. That's all we have to do for this here. Because we could do it by hand, but it's going to be faster if you just use that calculator to do it. Questions on this here? Questions on these multiplications? We good with these here? So for division, division would be similar, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So like L, problem L, I'm not going to do the fraction. I'm going to do 8 minus 4i divided by, close parentheses, 3 minus I. You're going to have to put parentheses around the top and bottom. So what's on top, you have to put in parentheses. What's in bottom, you have to put in parentheses. Because if you do that and use the division key, do not use the alpha y equals enter, because that will not work. It'll give you this here. Now again, at this point, you'll go math, enter, enter, to convert it back to fractions. Questions on this here? Math, enter. Or like the next one where we have 4 divided by 3 minus 4i. So we have this here, yes? If I want to at this point, I can go math, enter, and have that all on one line. Enter. And it'll just give me it as a fraction. So we don't have to do it as 2 steps. We can do it as 1. I want the fraction. Because the fraction's hitting 3 extra keys. Math. Any questions on this page here, F through M? We good on F through M? Next page is more of the division. Do we want to see any more of these division problems? Now, when we do division, does it always have to have fractions as the answer? No, we can have whole numbers. There's nothing that says that they have to be fractions. They can be whole numbers. We've had some problems on the homework assignments that had whole number answers, yes? It could be just I. We could just have a number without I terms. We can have any of these. Any questions on this here? Okay. Well, that is everything on the review sheet.